Yes. Hey, Ragnar.
Oh, hey, I heard you, Prashant, but I can't see you. Oh, no, I can see you. Hey, guys.
Okay, you can see me and the whole team. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
So Ragnar, if I can ask you to add your comment discussion items towards the end in the section on the docs, if you can see it.
Oh.
Yeah. Great. So I'll share my screen, and I think we can start the discussion. Okay. So there's too many things open. Sorry, give me one sec. All right, you should see my screen now. Yeah, I think the big update that I wanted to make this morning was the work that Shonwo and some others did in the team for the Lance DuckDB extension. It's now officially out on the DuckDB blog, so please read the blog and share around. Yeah, basically we're going to be doing more work on the extension and talking more about how to use Lance with DuckDB.
Yeah, Prashant, I think we just see a little subset of your screen that says you are sharing your screen.
Oh boy, okay.
Yeah.
Screen, okay. Now you should see my...
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, and yeah, what I was pointing at was this key update here, and we have a blog that is also released on the DuckDB blog. So the URL is there, and yeah, if you can read it and share around, that would be really amazing. If there are no other key updates, we can just move straight into the highlights. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, okay.
So bad.
Yeah, I'm just going to move this out here so I can see the, yeah. Yeah, does anyone have anything specific to say about the bug fixes and performance improvements? Because there's a lot of performance improvements I've seen go in via these various PRs. Anything standing out, or yeah, we can just have this as a summary and we can begin the main items to discuss.
Yeah, nothing stands out as something to call out.
Okay.
These are all good work.
Yep. So it's overall, I think, a lot of work spread out across various parts.
Yeah, because I can't mention that all those bug fixes that are recent are out in part of the 6.0.1 release, which I released yesterday. So we have a nice bug fix release.
Great.
Yeah. And the only other update on the upcoming releases is that I think it's time we'll cut 7.0 release today and get that in for the release voting, and then we'll be able to release that next week, assuming things go well.
Yep. So is that related to this? Is there anything more to say about version 7? Yeah, go ahead, Shonu.
Some people talk to me about our release cadency. Like they want to have a more predictable release schedule. Since our release pipeline is going to be stable right now, maybe we can start to discuss about this. Like we can have a 2-week or 1 month cadency to have a release.
Yeah, but I think we do target 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do try to make it regular. I think we just don't always do that. Maybe we can have better reminders about when to do that. I think one challenge to that is like we can start and intend to do a release, but it might, because of like the RC process, it might take a week to actually get that release stable and then ready.
Yeah.
And so that I think that creates some variance in the release cadence. Like, what do you have like thoughts on like how we could improve that?
No idea so far. Most of people is have a build scale, still have a many major release, so they tend to feel like they very hard to catch up the last release. Let's say they don't want to upgrade from Lance 5.0 and to 6.0 and then 7.0. They feel like there are many breaking changes in there.
Oh, so are people not complaining that are people complaining that we're not releasing often enough, or are they complaining that we are releasing too often, or that we're too often bumping the major version?
Yes, they don't want to see too many major release in every 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, so that's the opposite of what we were just thinking, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they want to have a more faster release for patches, but not faster release for major. Yeah.
I see.
So I guess what is the desired cadence then? If is it for major releases?
However, I think it's all something we can do in working with people is that our format is stable and they can just upgrade less without breaking the applications.
Yeah.
So it looks like in any case, the releases are happening longer than a 2-week cadence because of the voting and additional backlogs and maybe potential bug fixes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that many people might be afraid to upgrade because they feel that's the format and they don't want to have incompatible formats, bumps, and maybe this is more of a documentation thing. We should highlight somewhere that's easy for people to see that like the library version is not tied to the format version.
Yeah.
Or at least
some
it needs
people-
to be in the doc, so when people ask, we can just point them to the doc.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also like, I think we could also just try to have fewer breaking changes. So like in the upcoming 7.0 release, there's only one. Well, I guess I haven't looked through all the RCs, but I think the only breaking change that I see is like this one. And I guess I wonder, like, could we have done a better job of just gating that behind an optional flag that's default off and, you know, defer to wait that switch until, you know, a month or two out when we're like, all right, we have, you know, 3 or 4 breaking changes batched together and we can do that in one release.
Yeah.
I think it's hard because I don't know how to enforce that.
Yeah, but at least we will have one every month, right? Because of data fusion.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think like at a minimum, we already have that sort of forced.
Yeah.
By our dependencies, which is the other hard piece. And I think that's probably like part of what gives us little incentive to batch the breaking changes.
Okay, so that still doesn't change this point here about the release candidate 1700.
Yeah. In more discussion for the future.
Yep. Great. So should we jump into the first discussion topic, Spark Lance?
Yeah, so I added this.
Great.
I've been working on adding the V2 support here, and mostly just wanted to kind of raise some awareness. I have some assumptions that I made and some paths that I kind of chose based on what I saw the other engines were doing internally, like two pandas and the actual underlying structure. And this is just, yeah, for V2 support, reads and writes, what they're going to look like. I kind of just laid down some simple paths forward. And it highly differs from V1 because V1 this is a different structure. And so we kind of deviate from that normal path. And yeah, wrote this issue. Please take a look and leave some feedback if you want. Otherwise, I kind of will just continue moving forward here. The read support is out, and there is and I finished up the write. I'll open this PR for that today.
Yep.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, so in the Blob V2 design, we didn't expect that users can operate on our descriptors to suggest that directly because we don't provide API for users to play with Blob ID and Blob UI. And so technically, we want to explore something like a file reader or like a Blob reader. User can just holding that API and using them like a file. So I'm not sure what we can do in the Spark. Maybe we can do something like expose a blob or something like that.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about that a little bit. Java allows you to kind of have that lazy materialization with the Java bean encoding. And we could probably have some sort of serialization there where take blob can actually go through that. But I haven't fully fledged that out.
I think one requirement when we were doing the blob V1 integration into Spark was we still expose all the internal metadata because think about, for example, you want to select images from one table and then you insert into another table, and you don't want to have materialization of the image in between. Then it's kind of necessary to expose that information.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to. So yeah, this plan's kind of more like, let's start with descriptors, the minimal, easy set of information we can get out, and then move towards the different modes, sort of like two pandas, where you have that materialization or you have that lazy encoding, and do some follow up with that.
I can link a PR that's active right now on the Lance Spark that we're kind of iterating on about, not serializing blob. There was a use case from, one user where they were trying to do joins and not materialize blobs over joins, so write to a table from joining two separate tables. And so they're adding a construct called like a blob reference that is just a V1 construct, but it's just like a reference to a data set and a row address. And I think that's kind of what we're getting at here a little bit, but extending it to blob V2, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I think exactly. I did a little bit of prototyping there on that side, but I wasn't too sure if the materialization was happening or not. So it'd be nice to see what they're doing and see if the laziness is actually being respected.
So yeah, I'll link that here.
Yeah, ultimately, just if you guys can take a look, let me know. And that's pretty much it for me. Thanks, Prashant.
Awesome. Actually, I'm just going to move this issue further up because we have an external collaborator who had a question, who had something to discuss. We can get into the potentially longer discussions after. So, Ragnar, I think you can take this one.
Yes, or Andrew, you want to take this one? The brief context is that for batch commit tables, there was already.
Sorry, could you start with a bit of background on who you are and what you're doing?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. So we are kind of from the team Modern Relay, and we're building an open source graph engine with OmniGraph based on the Lance format. That's essentially object storage native. and we can really bullish on the Lance format. But yeah, there's some things that I guess missing from our end in terms of, especially on the transaction side, be able to essentially do things like multi-table commits and things like that. And just actually submitted also a PR that was accepted last week to fix also one of the sort of staging sort of systems. But yeah, Andrew, you can maybe give a bit more context on essentially here what we're doing with the RFC.
Yeah, so essentially we still mute.
Oh, sorry, it was lagging. My bad. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, no worries. So yeah, essentially we have like essentially we have like two products, OmniGraph and Nanograph. They both built on Lance, and we have like the idea is just like for both of them we need batch commits, and we saw that hey, there's the API for this in the specs, and they were just like, how about we create it? Because it was like my understanding. I did some research and it was there like for some time, right? So like I tried to find some background on it. I find some traces, but maybe you guys also could share like what is your take on this? What led to this specs? But overall, it feels like super useful. It's going to be not useful just for two of us or like our team, right? But also like maybe for more users as well, because of course the idea of like this sort of CAS commits to multiple tables. It's where I think the whole agentic thing is going, right? Because of course you want to have like this burst commits, and you don't want to bloat your manifest. So that was the reasoning behind it for us. And yeah, I mean, we can just maybe work through it and answer some implementation question, or like dive deep into the reasoning behind it. So yeah, totally up to you.
I just have one question about this though, like how much of this ties into the wall that's been implemented right now? Because like have you looked into the wall implementation and the PRs associated with that?
So which time frame are you talking about?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of PRs that have been going in the last month or two.
Last month or two, I would say like this one is roughly like maybe 3 weeks old. So okay. I've been going through most of the PRs that was on WoW before that, but since that I didn't do much dive into what happened with WAL. So if you think that it's kind of had the duplication, I would be more than happy to just review it and maybe update it just to be more aligned with it. And yeah, just let me know. And also in terms of the API specs, just let me know like how do you want to process it. We can sort of do another iteration with on the fresher docs on the WAL. I can update it, and then pretty much we can sort of figure out like what would be the good way to like update the specs, the API specs as well.
I think this one is not related to wall, but okay. I think I have been the one who is mainly adding features in batch commits and in catalogs. So yeah, I can take a look at this. I think I missed this whole discussion. So so far we added that because the background is, I think Tencent, they have a implementation for this, but with their own custom thing. So I just added the API, as you said. There is no actual implementation that is fully there. So for the directory implementation, I think it should be straightforward, right? I need to look at the PR to get more details, but it should be just essentially committing. Well, actually, there are some nuances here because in the discussion with Tencent, what we agreed upon was that this can only be supported when we essentially track all the table versions also in the manifest table, and then we can automatically update all the latest versions at the same time. And I think that was kind of roughly the shape that was landed. So I guess I can reconcile with the latest proposal to see where we go.
Yeah, so I pretty much from your take, I kind of see how it relates to WAL, right? But like, yeah, definitely from our side, just to update on this side, and also like, yeah, I think it's super valuable that you mentioned that, how do we operate manifest, and essentially kind of refresh our understanding of this. So I would say, how about we take some time just, for you also to just review the RFC and for us to review the like this the Tencent implementation. It's a private one, or do you have it in the repo like of the implementation for this essentially for the namespaces?
No, that one is private, but I think the
yeah.
author has been adding features also in the directory implementation, so we can sync with him afterwards.
Okay, yeah. I mean, how about we continue just chatting under this RFC, and I'm sure we'll find the shape that would be the most aligned with your thinking and your vision for it.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There were also some link issues. For example, one was like exposing the two-phase delete API to current. In the past, like for the other operations, it was already exposed to be able to do like advancing the head via manifest commit and doing the actual operation at the kind of two-stage API. So this was actually merged 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, but there was some other kind of instances where this is actually not exposed to the API. So they would kind of depend on that essentially. But if the one that was merged is the 6658 one.
Oh yeah, so there's an open PR for this here.
Yeah, and 665 was actually merged. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess this will be in the review queue whenever someone can get to it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm curious just from a product or user perspective, like what were the other use cases that drove essentially, apart from Tencent, have you heard of other users requesting this sort of batch commit API, or I'm curious about other use cases beyond ours.
I don't know about specific use cases, but it's just something that is in general good to have, and like as a database semantics, and people who want to just do things atomically across different tables. Internally, we have some, like LanceDB has some use cases we are thinking that might leverage this. I don't know too much about like their exact use case, to be honest.
Sounds good.
Great. So yeah, I think the takeaway is that you will continue once Jack has had time to review this and discuss on this RFC. Great. Thanks a lot for all your contributions, both Ragnar and Andrew.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we go into the LanceC roadmap?
Oh yeah. Yes. So basically, I've been working on the LanceC in a separate repo for quite a good time, and the current status is basically it's being able to run some basic vector search and the TP-CS based on the Lance dataset from the Presto plus the Velox engine. So I'm thinking that what might be the I just basically want to discuss with you guys about like the basic roadmaps about like how we gonna merge the LanceC into the main repo. Things like all the Python and Java bindings are there. So so the initial thinking about like the separating LanceC as a separate repo is basically for fast iteration on the prototyping. And since it's kind of like getting all the functionalities, so I'm thinking like merging to the main thing or something. So one initial thought from my side would be like to merge the LanceC with the current LanceDB bindings as the first step to kind of like make sure it's compatible with the current use case in the DuckDB expansion. So I think I already have a proposal in the DuckDB expansion repo, and yeah, basically also want to seek some feedback from you guys to see like what are the potential roadmaps for the LanceC to merge into the main repo. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm not familiar with C and C++, so I have a dumb question that how when users use a C project, like do they have something like cargo or PIP?
Sorry, I didn't hear clearly. So,
Sorry. So I want to know how users use a project like a LanceDB, for example.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So right now in Uber, the use case is basically using Presto plus the Velox as the query engine to query datasets on top of Lance. That's basically for the unified query experience. Basically, you can kind of like think join Lance table with Hive table or something like that, based on the Presto plus Velox. Previously, I already contributed Presto Lance connector in Java, but things like Uber is migrating to Velox as the query engine, so that's why we want to have the Lance C API to kind of like migrate to a full C++ stack. And also, I think there's some discussion in the community in the LanceD repo about like use the LanceD as the interface for the robotics data collection. So I think a lot of the robotics stack is based on the C and C++ for embedded process. So I think that's are the two main use case right now I'm thinking of. So yeah.
I guess when you say roadmap into mainstream, could you just quickly summarize what exactly does that result in? What's the result?
Yeah, I'm thinking like what are the criteria to go to the mainstream? Basically, like what kind of guarantee we would have for the LanceD maintenance and the build, etc., and the code review, etc. Yeah.
I guess the way I interpreted that was what's the roadmap to put
no, I guess it's better to say like what would be the criteria for LanceD to be the official binding supported by Lance.
Okay.
Put this way, yeah. Anyone have any thoughts? Yeah, I think basically our goal is release the library C library basically based on the LanceD instead of like directly pointing to the GitHub repo and maintaining a separate repo.
So we're still talking about this repo, right? This repo and the release
Yeah,
cycle and the fact that the binaries are released from here.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's already under the Lance format.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we want to move it or just keep it in this repo separate from the Lance repo, or are you asking whether or not we want to move it into the main Lance repo?
Yeah, I'm asking like what would be the criteria to move it into the Lance main repo, because all the bindings are already there, so I don't want to separate out into a separate repo. That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
What are the advantages of moving into the same repo? Just discoverability?
Yeah, basically discoverability. Yeah, it seems like I saw the Star Rocks guys, like the Apache Doris, basically like they're building their own C++ FFI because they didn't discover the LanceD is kind of supported already.
I see. would you be? I think one thing that would have to happen, I think, is, or maybe not have to, but I think we would want to happen is to match the versioning of the other libraries. Is that do you foresee that being a problem at all?
Oh, I don't think that's a problem. So basically, I think whatever the update to the binding, I will be willing to maintain that in the mainstream and bring like the LanceDB up to speed with their other bindings.
Mhm. Could you explain your concern about breaking changes, Sean?
Yeah, because it's more from my personal attitude that I don't know say and I never read say in production, so it might be a bit scary for me to maintain say code in Lance while we need some breaking changes. Like say we have changed the API in Rust, we might also need to update the C part. For now, we already have Java and Python. We need to update at the same time.
Yeah, I guess like the maintenance like is definitely a big concern for it. I mean, I'm personally willing to maintain it, but yeah, definitely there's we need some guys from the LanceDB to kind of like keep an eye on it as well, right?
I think one of the criteria we have been saying for sub projects is that we need at least a couple of people who can continuously review changes in the repo. I think that will be also kind of a requirement here, is that if we move it into the main repo as another binding that we need to keep getting updated at the same cadence as Java and Python, then we cannot just rely on you. We need a few more.
Yeah. Agree.
Do that. Maybe we can talk to the Doris people. I think Mingyu, like if he's interested, then we get a good group of Doris people who can also maintain this. Then I think we'll be in a much better position. So maybe that's the next step.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I can talk to him about like his interest in the LanceDB API and see what we can do there. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, I was just say I don't know if it would be a requirement, but at some point we might want to start building up some integration tests as well.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, I will do that and update the committee as well. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you. Great. We can do the transaction history.
Yeah, I put this one up. So recently there has been at least some requirements from my customer to say that we want to quickly retrieve all the transaction histories and then kind of, I think mainly for UI purposes, to display that in the UI. And I think we discussed about this in the past. There were a few already discussions. I guess I didn't link it here, but there were a few proposals, for example, having some transaction archive concept, or we put this as another system index. So the old transactions just get triaged into a system index. So just curious what we think now, like, is that something worth doing in Lance, or that should be something just not kind of outside of Lance?
I think the main place where, like, on some level, you could say that it's an outside of Lance concern, just because, sorry, just because, like, it's just you're just asking for like a better performant caching layer on top of the existing transactions, and you can already get all the transactions. But I think the kind of argument to that is like one place where sort of the Lance sort of library or spec really gets in the way of being able to list transactions is in cleanup, because in cleanup, like cleaning up the data files and stuff also means cleaning up the old transaction files. And you lose that transaction history. And I think that to me is like the biggest thing that needs to change in the spec if you want to be able to like maintain that transaction history. But I think the performance piece is probably just having some caching layer, and we could bake something into the spec if we want to. But that's
I think it's because caching is always you have to have a at least one code query, right? And after that point of time, you are good. And I think for the UI purposes, it's like even the first one is problematic because you like people will wait for a long time for the histories to be displayed. But well, maybe that's not as bad, because if we are thinking like it's a paginated view, then it can kind of load in paginations. But I think one of the common things people will do is that, for example, I want to look at how many like important transactions we do, for example, adding a column, dropping a column. And then at that time, it becomes tricky because most of the transactions will be add data, add index, or compaction. And then you will really take a long time to filter out all the transactions before you get to the point that okay, I added like a column a month ago or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I think suppose we, for example, is a current thinking that when we do the cleanup, we will kind of move the transactions that are cleaned up into some kind of summary file so that the information is still kept. And essentially we will be able to have a summary of the historical transactions that is relatively quick to read. And then for the recent transactions, we still just do listing.
I think that was the idea we had before, and it still seems reasonable to me. It seems like a natural place to put it. One thing I did want to make a note of is I think I forget what the current state of this is, but transaction listing should become faster soon because we've started writing the transactions inside of the manifest instead of in separate files. So previously the operation was like you list all the manifests, you read each manifest, and each manifest links to a transaction file that you then have to read. And I think now the process is you list the manifest and you can read each manifest, and each manifest contains the transaction file. So it does reduce the I/O cost a little bit.
I think that flag is still true. Oh, sorry, false by default, right?
Yeah, it's still false by default, but I think once we flip that improves the situation at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think we should start consider turning that to true.
Yeah, and I think yeah. Anyways, I think it's worth maybe creating just a discussion where we can brainstorm and figure out some alternative solutions and weigh some alternative solutions here.
Yeah, I think there's already one that Nathan opened previously. Okay. I think I will reply there so we can revive that discussion.
Yep.
All right. I think this one is Shonwo.
Yeah, I put this one. So it's more for idea exploration. I want to do something like we can have a logical table in Lance so that we can have a group to combine with different tables and have some relations between them and have some views between them so that we can provide a more friendly API for user to do robotics or racks or something like that. Technically, users can do everything they can do right now. They can just build the same thing for Lance right now today. But if we have a Lance group, and users can just use the more friendly API.
So this is more like a collection of Lance data sets, right?
Yes, a logical data set, yes.
Yeah.
Jack, please.
My initial reaction is, should this more be like a tag? Like you can give a tag to different data sets, and then you can know what are the data sets associated with the tag. And I'm asking this because I am working on a feature to be able to add additional metadata, like kind of outside the table, stored in the namespace to essentially add additional annotations to a table, and then you can search what are the tables related to those metadata. Because otherwise, today there is the metadata inside the Lance table, but in order to get those, you have to open the data set, and that becomes not friendly to search a collection of tables. So would that satisfy this use case, or the group does more things than that?
Yeah, groups actually maintains more metadata than just a tag. For example, there is an example here. Say we have a Lance group called Robot Run. We have 4 members, and one camera, MU data, and calibration. And each data set are being written at a different space. Like camera can have some very huge reference data in there, and later can have a different pace. So they will be pointed to different versions of this data set. And then we have a relation between them, like saying, and we have camera IMU time, and we will define different relation between them about those 2 different data sets, and to actually build a logical view being exposed to users. So there are many technical details that I'm not discussing in here, and but the general idea is that we need to maintain some logical relationship between those data sets.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is we'll want to establish, like, why does this need to be a format level change to Lance, and why can't it be something that's built up on top? Because I think, to your point, like, you can probably create a nicer user interface, but why can't it be a system built on top of Lance and not a format change?
Yes, that's the most interesting part, because I want to build a schema, build a schema in Lance. That way I have a Lance group schema, and this schema itself will be written as a Lance table. So every client, every user, they can just access this Lance group table, and they can just fetch all the relations and members across those data sets. And LanceDB, Lance DuckDB, and Lance Spark, they can operate working on the same group.
Is relationship a part of the group? Because I feel relationship should be something like standalone. Like you are just describing the relationship between like 2 tables, something like that, right?
Yeah. The relationship here is more like a metadata. We just store them, and we don't have really enforcement for those relationships.
Yeah, because another related development is we want to start to track lineages, because we just added materials view in the namespace spec, and actually I don't know if we should distinguish view and materials view. That's another discussion, but but the key is that materials view is just a table, but it's essentially produced by another table, right? And the relationship is a UDTF. But it doesn't have to be UDTF, I think. It can be something else. And that seems to be what is missing here, which I think we should add, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can have more discussion around the relationship between group and the namespace. Maybe we can have some good place in namespace and to add this concept.
Yeah, I guess. Would you object? Like, I guess my preference is to like build it as a incubating sub project that's built on top of Lance and not integrate it into the core of Lance. Is that Something you would agree with?
Yeah, my current concern is that if we build it as a sub project in Lance, and how LanceDB and LanceDB to support that. Like we want to export as OF to users. What's the integration plan for us?
I mean, I think that's TB. That I think we could figure that out. I think
Okay.
it could start out as just a thing that maybe only LanceDB supports, and eventually, like once we prove it out, like I think mostly I don't want to like create a project that's unproven and then we realize it really work and we've baked in this old. Like I think it's better if there's something brand new to sort of prototype it and have it try to working in one engine. And we've sort of figured it out before we start baking it into some sort of specification.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because I think you have to keep in mind, like this is, you know, a Lance format. Like once we sort of release it and bake it into the format, like it's kind of there in perpetuity.
Yeah,
and it's hard to take it.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. So there's no current open discussion on this, right? There is. We just linked the discussion, so we can continue the discussion there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So we have around 10 more minutes to discuss this last issue.
Okay. This one should be simple. It's just something change to the fixed size list. I want to add them in our next format, our next file format version 2.3. So basically, our current fixed size list didn't apply compression encoding to that. So they can make Lance be very insufficient to store something like token and tensors. After if we allowing to apply bit packing for those tokens, we can save money space.
Sean, do we have users for these kinds of things? Like, I'm curious if there's already a user request like this.
Yeah, I actually found this one while I'm doing benchmarking to use Lance in training. So Lance in training is first, but our space size is quite large compared to Parquet. Weston?
Yeah, I think we should definitely do it. I think we should just, it would be good to note like what tokenization methods benefit from this, so we can get some idea. Because like just general embeddings don't tend to be compressible unless you've done something wrong. And it's like, is that what we're targeting here? Embeddings that have done something wrong? Or is there a class of embeddings or tokenizers that don't use the full space that they tokenize into? Because that always feels to me like it's a flaw in the tokenizer. But maybe with some of these text tokenizers, that's just a built-in. We're not going to use the full bits because we're just counting the number of tokens, and so then it's something. Yeah, like what is generating FSL if you went 64?
Yeah, those tokens are generated from open data set in Hugging Face. I'm not sure why it's in that way.
Yeah, I would just chase down and figure out like what is the model that generated those tokens?
Okay. Oh,
why
okay.
Why isn't that model using the available space? Because like the whole point of a tokenizer is to compress.
I see. I got it.
And so it's like if it's not compressing effectively, it feels like a bad tokenizer, and I don't want to spend a lot of time fixing bad tokenizers. So like if we can come up with some good models that like some like an FTS tokenizer, just like a concrete use case of like, here's a model, here's a reason that it doesn't fill the whole space when it converts to tokens. So let's come up with a solution for that. Then I think it would be easy to kind of push these through. And then I think another question is like someone else, there's another GitHub issue where someone brought up, they have token arrays and
Sorry, what's
whatever.
the problem, Weston? I missed that.
Oh, so this is arguing let's do leaf compression where we basically just compress the integers, like bitpack the integers. There was another user that was asking, what they were saying is they were doing floats, and the floats themselves were not very compressible. But if you looked at the tokens, like the whole vector, there was a lot of similarity between vectors. So if you zoomed out and you did compression at that level, you could get decent compression. And again, I think this is like a proprietary model, so I don't have a good example data set or something like that. But that would be maybe, so it's like if you compress it by saying, I have a giant list of primitives, go compress that. We're going to use mini block and we'll do things like bitpacking. If you compress it by saying, I have this big column of vectors, so it's like, is the data width the integer, so 4 bytes, so we'll do like mini block, or is the data width the whole vector, so like 4 kilobytes, so we'll do full zip, and we'll look at different style encoding. So like, I think there's a choice here too. So again, like I think my ideal would be we have some good ground truth examples of when we need with each scenario, and then somehow the encoder can figure out which one to apply based on, maybe we have to ask the user for input, and in a perfect world we wouldn't. We would just like be able to figure it out.
Yeah, sure. I will try with Ayush to ask for more detail around this data shape, and I can have more input from him, and finally give some response to this.
But this is, I think, something that people often look at and say it's weird that we don't do this. So we could come up with some good examples. That'd be helpful.
Okay, I'll continue.
Great. Are there any other comments we didn't cover here? Awesome. Yeah. So we look ahead to the 7.0.0 release candidate. And yeah, other than that, see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.